Tragedy struck the wrestling world as last week Jay Briscoe, one half of the ROH Tag Team Champions and one of the big tag teams of all time in Ring of Honor especially, had tragically died in a car accident. And the wrestling world mourned, WWE addressed it, AEW addressed it, Tony Khan addressed it, and we were all looking forward to honoring the life of Jay Briscoe last week on Dynamite. And then Warner Bros. Discovery decided to piss everyone off again, because David Zaslav, the guy who would fire anyone for anything and would also cancel a whole bunch of projects. Oh, no. Let's not just piss off our customer base for HBO Max and make HBO Max redundant. No, we got piss off the wrestling fans, which is the dumbest thing you could do, more so than protect Ezra Miller. You decide to say, look, Jay Briscoe said homophobic comment over a decade ago, and yes, I know he paid his dues, I know he did all this stuff to atone for it, and educated himself and was redeeming himself for it, but we cannot have him because he'll look bad for our investors and advertisers. Warner Bros. Discovery, I was hoping you would at least relent on this. Like, you had the guy on Bleacher Report app, which is part of Warner Bros. Discovery. Here's the list of things we can bring up that basically showcases double standards besides the Ezra Miller route. J.K. Rowling is transphobic. Nick Gage is a former convict bank robber. And let's see. And whereas J.K. Rowling has never apologized for her horribleness, and you're still promoting her products and making films off her stuff, making games off her stuff. But let's ignore the logistical argument nightmare on that and the people being pissed off at J.K. Rowling for virtually every day when she has to open her Twitter account and start tweeting up a storm of transphobic remarks. No. This one comment from Jay Briscoe when he was young and stupid, that's too far. And yeah, let's agree, it was a bad comment, it was stupid, and yes, he argued that he was doing it in character, but he at least atoned for it. He spent a decade trying to make up for it, trying to repair the damage. He donated stuff, he donated big paychecks he got from pay-per-view events to help the LGBTQ community. He did more trying to fix his image than J.K. Rowling tried to fix her image after Harry Potter. And it's just like you were all, like AEW brought in Nick Gage, and they could have said no because, well, he's a former convict. He was a convict and a former bank robber. I'm like, sure, he paid his dues and served time, but we're stubborn idiots. And like, oh God, they did not want a tribute show to him. They reportedly were so dead set, like, we are not having this some bitch, this Dem Boy be on AEW programming. It is against our policy of bullshit. And then you also remember Mark Briscoe couldn't come on TV either, so AEW had to work around that by producing a show after Dynamite to honor the legacy of Jay Briscoe. And after a week, AEW had, after a delay with their programming schedule from Tuesday to Wednesday because they were part of a shifting schedule stuff, so NXT AEW fight was off the table, hooray. They had announced Jay Briscoe's brother, Mark Briscoe, can finally show up on AEW Dynamite. Yes! Hooray! We protested and got like, Tony Khan reportedly had to move mountains, just fight Warner Brothers Discovery on this. Like, look, I know you guys have been grateful for me. You've done a lot for AEW. Just swallow your pride. Just let the guy come on. Like, come on. You have to let this go. Like, you let all this other stuff get through. You protect Ezra Miller. I'm still on that. Like, Ezra Miller is so pissing people off these days with the God complex and the continuing to be that could be a dangerous political tool for the anti-LGBTQ group politicians to say, see, this is proof that these people are dangerous. We must shut them down and whatnot and some bullshit. But yeah, the double standards of Warner Bros. Discovery knows no bounds, and they're still renewing Velma for season 2, even though everyone hates it. But moving on from my immense hatred for Warner Bros. Discovery to the point that I'm convinced it's a love-hate relationship, because it's like, I hate these companies' executives, but I love their content so much. But I hate the protection of violent psychopaths. But I also love House of the Dragon. But I also hate David Zaslav's incomprehensive reality. But I love DC Comics. Like, that's the best way to describe my infuriating complexity with this whole thing. So, after Tony Khan had to move mountains and probably had to pay a bunch of people probably for this, he finally got the blessing. You can have Mark Briscoe go on AEW Dynamite for good. He can come on. He's allowed now. The policy has changed. We're done with it. And I'm still pissed off about that, because it took tragedy, an uprising from fans, Tony Khan probably having to pay a huge price for it, just to get his brother on board. So it was announced that he would main event the show, and his first opponent would be Jay Lethal, an ROH veteran as well, who has history with the Briscoe brothers. Also, depressingly, when I was recalling here's the thing, I have never watched a Briscoes match. I heard about them, I heard their exploits, but I have never watched a match of theirs. I didn't watch a match until the FTR trilogy, which was freaking awesome and set a standard for tag team wrestling, in my humble opinion. It's up there with the singles match feud of Kenny Omega and Okada, and all that. But yeah, so this was a time to rejoice that we get to honor the legacy of the Briscoes and honor the legacy of Jay Briscoe. And the less I talk about the Tribalists, decided to make a huge fuss over it, because WWE is supreme apparently, even though we can go and talk about all their dirty stuff, but I'm not interested in talking about that. I'll save that for future projects. Yeah, this night was about Jay Briscoe, and the only thing they could do last week was armbands, but luckily, like I said, Tony Khan probably had to move mountains just to get this done. So, yeah, we're finally here. The legacy of Jay Briscoe honored by his brother Mark and one of his big opponents, Jay Lethal. And damn it, I am going... And it's like, Mark Briscoe comes out with both belts. He comes out with both ROH titles that they won from FTR in a dog collar match. And when you think about it for more than a second, then you realize, oh god, Jay Briscoe's last match was a dog collar match. Wasn't that the last match Brody Lee had? And then you get depressed and remember Brody Lee. So, yeah, we are now honoring the legacy of the Briscoe family. And this match was awesome. Like, the quality of this match was phenomenal, and the emotions were just It was highly emotional for both, especially for Mark because he got to finally show up on AEW Dynamite. It's bittersweet at the same time because it's like it took the death of his brother and the fan outcry of rage to get WBD to change their minds. And props to Tony Khan for that he managed to move the mountains necessary to get this to happen. Like he's been supporting the Briscoe family in this tragedy. He's been supporting Brody Lee's family after Brody's passing. And it's just like, okay, look, I know Tony Khan has his faults, he has his flaws, but come on. The guy clearly loves this business. He loves these wrestlers. He treats them like their family to him. For better or for worse. Can we at least give him his props on that he at least still has his humanity? Even though he's a goddamn billionaire who gets to live out his uber power fantasy, and I get to sit in the corner crying, realizing I will never be rich because the American system sucks. But enough about my depressing reality of the one percenters always winning in life. We honored Jay Briscoe and his legacy, and the match was great. Like, there's nothing else I could say about that. The match was great. And Tony Khan reportedly had planned to push the Briscoes to be the cornerstone, to basically prove why they are the cornerstone of ROH and why their legacy was so important. Like, that was going to be like a reconstruction rebirth for them on the new ROH platform on Honor Club. Which, now that the Briscoe situation is resolved, albeit bittersweet, like, I'm curious. After the TV deals for AEW are done for the renewals, will Tony Khan now finally be able to get Warner Brothers Discovery to put AEW on one of their other on one of their networks now? I mean ROH, because that kind of now changes everything. That's why one of the reasons why the TV deal didn't happen, besides the AEW contract renewals, since they're coming up, and they didn't want to risk having a dual issue. He'd be competing with himself on that, and that would not end well. But yeah, Mark Briscoe defeated Jay Lethal in a pretty damn good match. Jay Lethal decided to rip the heel stuff off and decide to officially go in as a face, wrestle, and steal the show with Mark Briscoe. And it was a good night to honor Jay. Like, it was a good night. I think that's all we can really say. And they even got a Ring of Honor tribute show to him on YouTube currently. You can check that out. But it was nice. It's nice to see Briscoes finally get the honor they have rightfully earned, and WBD to get their heads out of their asses. Reach for them scars, Dem Boyz. We'll see Jay Briscoe again one day in the realms of Wrestling Valhalla with all the greats. Okay, I think I'm done here. This is your host, Eric Brown of NRE, the WrestleVerse. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out my content in the description below. See you for more. I'll see you all again next time. And Jay, we're gonna miss you, man. We're gonna miss you. I wish I could have been watching your matches when you were alive. Then we could have been more excited to see what you would do in Ring of Honor with the relaunch. was just so done with this year. And I'm glad his daughter's all right and his family's all right, physically speaking. We'll see y'all again next time.